We love busting money myths, and today we're gonna be busting 5 of them, just blowing them up.
Hi, I'm Joseph.
And I'm Tasha with One Big Happy Life, and we help you find balance, build wealth, and live happy. Everything that you need to create the life that you want.
We are super excited to be busting these myths today, but there's something else that we are even more excited about. Exactly how many of you have signed up for our free money masterclass, the 4 essential keys to creating your financial dream life? It is awesome. You should sign up if you haven't.
Literally thousands of you have joined, and so we've added a couple more sessions. So if you have not grabbed your spot, you need to head over to onebighappylife.com/masterclass so we can help you start getting your money right with this free class before the end of 2019.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't want to have their financial dream life? I mean, I think everybody does. So go sign up, onebighappylife.com/masterclass.
All right, so now let's get into busting these money myths. I'm so excited because I love talking about money myths. Now, the first one is one that we get all the dang time. Don't we, Joseph? All the time.
Oh yeah, emails about it, comments about it. And I can understand the questions around it because there's a lot of, it's out there a lot. So,
all right, here's the myth that paying off debt is the best way to reduce financial risk. This is not true. Now, before we get into the better ways, because there are many better ways at reducing financial risk that are actually super effective at reducing financial risk. Let's talk about the one instance in particular where paying down debt really does reduce financial risk. Here we're talking about the risk of you not having money to meet your financial obligations and, being exposed to financial disaster, right? And that is that when you pay off your debt, it reduces your overall monthly expenses. So it's the same thing as like a downsizing a house. So you need less money to survive every month. And so when you need less money to survive, well, then it's that much easier to make sure that you're able to have enough money to meet your financial obligations. So that is one area where reducing your debt does decrease your overall financial risk. But let's talk about the better ways to decrease your overall financial risk.
Well, and I also just wanted to say that what risk is. I think there's big confusion about what it is at all. And it's the inability to meet kind of financial shocks or kind of variability in income or expenses. And so you got to think about what are the kinds of things that you want to have more of when you have uncertain income or uncertain expenses. And the answer there is always going to be liquid assets that you can then use to take care of yourself or pay for those expenses.
Yeah, to piggyback on that, let's also specifically define the risks, because people say, risks. The risks that you can encounter, those financial risks. So number 1, losing your job, right? Number 2, some sort of natural disaster, right? That could happen. Number 3, losing, say, your health, right? So some sort of health or disabling, major medical disabling event. Those are the 3 most common, like the biggest risks that we all face during our working lives that will stop us from being able to continue to support ourselves financially.
So let's talk about the best ways to deal with these risks. The first of them is an emergency fund. And what's an emergency fund? Well, it's just a pool of cash, keep it in a savings account, maybe CDs, that you can have available to draw whenever you have expenses that are much greater than you were anticipating.
And let's just briefly, why having an emergency fund is better than being debt-free. Because if you have an emergency fund, let's say a 6-month emergency fund, and you lose your job, and you're debt-free, but you don't have an emergency fund and you lose your job, in which instance will you be able to continue to live and not have it drastically have this very negative impact on your life? It's obviously the case where you can continue to support yourself for 6 months while you look for a different job and build up different streams of income to replace the job that you just lost. If you're debt-free, but you don't have any liquid assets to support yourself, well, you're on struggle bus immediately, and you're actually going to be turning towards debt or family loans in order to keep yourself afloat. So,
right, and that's if it's even available, because a lot of credit is based on, well, how much income do you have coming in? Well, if you go to say, well, I really need a credit card because I got to make ends meet, but you have no income, well, then you're not going to get approved by anyone.
Not to mention that the minute you start missing payments because you don't have any money, right? You're living on credit cards. Your creditors will crunch your credit limits down immediately because they know what's up. All right. So another way that you mitigate risk, incredibly important, is having enough insurance. And we've talked about this before. So that's health insurance, dental insurance, life insurance, short and long-term disability insurance. And if you're old enough, long-term care insurance, homeowners insurance, auto insurance. All of those different types of insurances are there to protect you and insulate you from financial risk and disaster.
Yeah, you want insurance to cover anything that is, well, really your biggest assets, including yourself, because you earn money and take care of things and people. You're a huge asset that you definitely want to take care of. And if something happened to that, or like any of your greatest assets, it would be very difficult for you to then repair them, pay for them, get new things.
Number 3, building your nest egg, aka your wealth, in creditor exempt accounts. So that means your 401ks, your Roth IRAs, those accounts are generally exempt from the claims of your creditors. And so what that means is, now I know a lot of people are thinking like credit card debt, but let's just think about a major medical emergency. Someone has cancer and you end up with hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of medical debt and you have to file for bankruptcy. Well, that's no fault of your own that you got that sick. You did everything right. And that's what bankruptcy is there for. But you can file for bankruptcy and all of the amounts in your 401ks exempt. So you can keep your wealth that you've managed to amass and not have to liquidate it all in case of a financial emergency. So that is the benefit of taking advantage of those tax advantaged and creditor advantaged accounts.
Another thing to do is have multiple income streams, because this gives you different options whenever things like a bad economy, job loss, those kinds of things are going on. You have some alternate routes. So maybe you're investing in some real estate. Maybe you have a hobby, a little side hustle that's bringing in some income. That can all help you bring in some more money to help either a lower income than you were expecting or those higher expenses.
And lastly, you can make sure that your resume is on point, aka be marketable. So do whatever. Yes, you may suffer a job loss, or you may find yourself in a position where you're in a job that you absolutely hate and you can't stomach to go back another day, so you leave that job unexpectedly. Well, if you've kept your resume up to date, if you've made sure that you are keeping your expertise sharp in your industry, or that you are developing other areas of expertise so that you can stay marketable, then it will be that much easier for you to find another job.
Okay, money myth number 2, and I can understand why this one is hanging around, that you think that you need a lot of money to start investing. This is absolutely not true, but it could have been true many, many years ago, which is why it's probably hanging around. But nowadays, you can open up a brokerage account with no money just to even check it out. No fees, no credit card, nothing, just to go and look at it, see what options they have for you. And then you can invest in also very, very small amounts now, like just pennies.
Yeah, and so for me, the first time I ever opened an investment account, I wasn't even working full time, so I didn't have a 401k as an option. And I just started doing some research on the internet. I'm like, oh, there's this Roth IRA thing. I'll just go, open one. And so I checked with my bank. They offered Roth IRAs. I opened up the Roth IRA. I think I maybe had to put $50 or $100 in it, but they didn't even require ongoing deposits or anything. But I went ahead and I did $50 deposits for a little while. I didn't keep up with it. Shame on young me, but I like the fact that I at least got started, right? Even though back then, so I was married to my ex-husband back then. It was me, him, and Alexis living on a family income of $55,000 a year, the three of us. So, and I was doing $50 a month back then. So you definitely can get started even when you're not making a ton of money. And also I could have done $50 a month making a lot less money too. It's all about money management.
Yeah, but so with today's technology, like the robo-advisor apps, they're super easy to get involved with. You just answer a few questions and they will, give you a portfolio that they think will fit your goals. And so like it's very hands off. You don't have to know a whole lot about it to at least get started. The fees are all, reasonable, nothing super high. If you don't want to have to pay for a one-on-one advice, you can get in super cheap. Also, if you don't already take advantage of investing at work through your retirement accounts there, if you have that option, a lot of times it's really easy to get started there with just a little bit of your paycheck going to those retirement accounts. So it doesn't matter how much money you're making, you have investing options today.
All right. Myth number 3 is, I don't need to pay attention to what's happening with our money because my partner manages it. No, absolutely not. You absolutely need to know what is going on with your finances. You need to completely understand and be a part of the financial decision making. And Joseph and I have talked about this before. It's one thing to have one partner be the person that actually manages the scheduling and the day-to-day bill paying. That's fine. That partner's Joseph. But I could do it if I needed to. We just, divide and conquer with our household responsibilities. But even with Joseph being the bill payer, I still 100% know what all of our bills are, when they're due, what our financial strategy is.
Yeah, and it's important for 2 reasons. So number 1, it's always good to have like a second set of eyes going over things. And so to catch any mistakes and stuff, which is inevitably is going to happen. And so if your partner is involved, then you're more likely to catch something before it becomes a real problem. Like, well, maybe you missed a bill and then, hey, what's this? I thought you paid that. And then, oh, I forgot. That kind of thing can be avoided. And the other thing is, well, what if I got sick in this scenario? Or worse,
or died.
What if I died?
Yep.
Or disabled and I'm unable to do all that day-to-day stuff. Well, if I was doing everything and in my mind is locked away, all the passwords, all the accounts, maybe she didn't even know where I was investing money, well, she'd have nowhere to start. I'm going through my browser history, hoping she can say, oh, there it is. That's where the brokerage is.
Not to mention that studies show that when one partner takes control of the finances and the other partner is barely involved, if that person were to pass away or they're no longer together, the person that's been barely involved is actually less able to make good financial decisions, even after they've been provided with all of the information that they need to make a good decision. It's just a perfect example of practice makes perfect. So never think that you can completely let your money slip away from your mind and stop making financial decisions or understanding the way money works just because your partner handles it. Absolutely not. It's a team effort and you both should be involved.
The 4th money myth, cash is always better than credit and credit cards will ruin your life. This is just absolutely not true. So there are a lot of reasons why credit cards can be really beneficial, but the underlying issue here is your habits and spending. Yes. That is the good thing or the bad thing of the strength that you have in your financial ability, not how you're actually spending the money.
Yeah, when you look at those studies that say that people are X% more likely to spend if they use credit cards versus cash, studies are often inherently flawed, and you have to look for the flaws and the biases in these studies. So the main thing when it comes to those studies that say that people are likely to spend 20% more if they spend with a credit card, the important thing to understand, like Joseph said, is that conscious spending is conscious spending. So if you know in your mind exactly how much you have set aside to spend in a category, it doesn't matter whether you are using credit or cash. Really, in that study, what happens is the people with the credit cards decide, well, I want this thing and I'm willing to take 2 months to pay for it. Whereas the people with cash have to say, well, I can't actually do that. But what's really important, again, is that you've planned for the spending. So if you know, well, I've got $100 in my entertainment budget this month and $100 next month, and you're willing to buy a $200 thing knowing your entertainment budget for next month is a wrap, that's okay.
Yeah, and then the bonus with credit cards is sometimes you get some cash back, sometimes you get extended warranties. And so, if you're making those decisions, sometimes you get those perks, which can be nice, that cash doesn't have.
And there are plenty of people out there, Joseph and I included, that have never been cash-only people and still do extremely well financially and don't have a problem sticking with their budget. It's all about being conscious about your spending, whatever methodology you choose.
Money myth number 5. If you have debt, you absolutely have to pay it off as fast as possible. So again, this one is just not true. What you want to have in your financial plans is something in place to make you go from wherever you are to the best possible financial scenario that you can envision with what you have in your financial goals. And frequently, that will not include rapid debt payoff.
So the first thing to keep in mind is this: the general financial principle that if you are able to invest money at a higher rate of return than putting it towards paying debt, then you will build wealth faster if you slow pay your debt and instead put that money towards investing. And you've seen that at work in our finances over the past 2 years, where we've increased our net worth by a couple $100,000 over the past 2 years. And all of last year, we slow paid debt, and our debt still paid down slowly, but our net worth increased by over 6 figures.
Yeah, so it's important to remember that overemphasizing kind of really any part of your whole financial picture, either paying off debt or saving, can end up with a result that is less than ideal. So if you overemphasize debt payoff, you are giving up that long-term wealth and then also taking on additional risk, like we talked about earlier, because you'll have fewer liquid assets to weather some kind of expense or income storm.
And I just want to clarify. Now, we see a lot of people say, oh, well, that method works great for you guys. And I just want to be clear, this is not, though we use our finances as a lens to make it really relatable to you guys, to put all of these like super vague financial concepts, make them really clear and practical for a real family. These are financial principles, period. It's all about the math. We're not special snowflakes. This will work for anyone. And I like to say that, yes, we're high income earners, but honestly, lower income earners don't have as much room for financial waste. And so we like to say it's even more important for you to choose the thing that's going to result in you building wealth faster when you make less income, because there's less room for error there.
Absolutely. All right. So I hope we have popped these 5 money myths for you all, and you are now more knowledgeable for it. And definitely go check out our free money masterclass, the 4 essential keys of creating your financial dream life. Sign up at onebighappylife.com/masterclass.
And we'll see you there live in just a couple of days. Bye.
Bye.